It's time to travel back in the 80s and go to Hawkins, Indiana for season 3 of Stranger Things, which starts out 3 months before season 2 starts out. It starts out on June 28th, 1984, exactly 3 months before season 2, and you have a bunch of military officials in a lab. They're trying to open up a portal to the Upside Down, and they get really, really close until the machine they're using blows up. When this happens, the commander flips out. The issue is he's doing it in Russian. And it becomes obvious, oh shit, these are the Russians. The very Russians which Dr. Owens warned us about in season 2. The commander ends up choking out one of the guys and telling another scientist, you have 1 year to figure this out. So we'll fast forward to 1 year, which in the timeline is about 8 months after season 2 ended. Most of the kids are headed to the brand new mall in town, which by the way has decimated downtown Hawkins. But you've got 11, Mike, Lucas, Max, and Will heading to the movies. They're able to sneak into George Romero's Day of the Dead through the back channels of the mall thanks to Steve Harrington, who lets them in through the ice cream shop that he's working at. And shortly after the movie starts, there is a massive citywide power outage. Unbeknownst to everybody in Hawkins, there is an abandoned steel warehouse, and the dirt around the warehouse starts to rise, kind of like in season 2 when they took the soil samples. Now, the power outage doesn't last more than a couple seconds, and when it comes back, everybody in the movie theater cheers, but Will gets that uneasy feeling that he gets around the Upside Down. He doesn't go into the Upside Down, but he just gets that weird, eerie feeling. Now, one of the people that wasn't at the movies was Dustin, who was at a month-long science camp. And he's having trouble getting in touch with his friends. His mom says, well, maybe they forgot about you, which puts the fear of God into Dustin. But when he gets home, all of these robotic toys start moving around on their own, and the friends surprise him back at his house. So after they exchange pleasantries, Dustin starts showing the guys what he made at science camp, including a couple cool things. But the big thing is a radio to talk to his girlfriend named Suzie with a Z. Apparently she's hotter than Phoebe Cates. Everybody calls bullshit on that. But Dustin has them trek all the way up to this huge mountain in the middle of the summer to set up this radio so they can talk to his girlfriend. So the whole gang starts trekking up this hill, and Mike and 11 decide, yeah, that's not really for us. So they make up an excuse of curfew, and it's 4 p.m. It's not curfew. And they head out. And Dustin kind of looks perplexed, and the entire group says this has been this way all summer. They're just going to make out. And this issue is a problem with Hopper. They spent the entire summer making out, and as a father now, he doesn't know how to handle this. So he heads to the one person he thinks he can give him good advice, Joyce Byers, who is working in the same shop she always works at, but at this point, since it's in downtown Hawkins, everything's like 75% off. So Joyce gives him really good advice and says, look, you don't like the relationship, just talk to them. Don't necessarily be their friend, but also don't be a cop, because if you come at them like a cop, they're going to rebel. It's just natural. So Hopper tries that, but the kids kind of are snarky about it, so he says, you need to get home, Mike. There's something wrong with your grandmother. And Mike starts freaking out, saying, what's wrong with Nana? And when they get in the car, he goes, there's nothing wrong with your grandmother, but you need to start respecting me or you're not going to see my daughter anymore. And he puts the fear of God into Mike. Now, Mike isn't the only Wheeler that's having a tough time, because Nancy is also having a tough time. She secured an internship along with Jonathan at the Hawkins Post, but Jonathan's being treated normal. Nancy's being treated like a grunt, having to take food orders and not really being respected. While there one night, she gets a phone call from the tip line about all these diseased rats around town. And it's a story that she might pursue, because she tried to pitch to them, small town America dying off because of the mall, and they just kind of laughed at her about the food orders. So it's really the first lead she's been able to get, and it's a good lead, because all throughout the town, these rats have been flocking to that abandoned steel mill, and they've been going to the basement and literally just exploding. But let's get back to Dustin, who is finally able, with the help of his friends, to set up this massive radio tower to talk to his girlfriend, Suzie, who lives in Utah. And this is going to shock you, but a radio length from Utah to Indiana didn't really work out. And of course, he can't get a hold of her. The friends start even wondering if she's even real, and they bounce. Will, being a good friend, says, hey, maybe tomorrow we can just do something fun and play Dungeons & Dragons, but he also leaves. And when everybody leaves, all of a sudden, Dustin picks up a radio transmission in Russian. And they're basically on the radio just saying code words, but it's a year later, and they've seemingly made a lot of progress in opening up this portal. Now, also on that same night, you have Mrs. Wheeler, who is about to go cheat on her husband with Billy, Max's half-brother. She's having second thoughts because she sees her family there, but, Billy he's looking good at the pool. And Billy's already on his way to the Motel 6. When all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thing hits his windshield, and he ends up crashing his car right in front of that steel mill. When he gets out, he gets attacked and dragged into the steel mill. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. please consider subscribing to the channel. If you do not see the next video up in one of the end screens, not to worry, it'll be up in the next couple days. But the most important thing is that you like and subscribe and all that good stuff.